So I have been wanting to complete this pregnancy video vlog for a while now, but it just seems to be that life has just been so busy. The time has flown by. This being my second pregnancy, with my first pregnancy, I did do like a week by week of my journey, and just this being my second, a completely different experience, and also going through the healing process of pregnancy after miscarriage. It was um I felt like I needed to kind of take my time and just be present in the moment, because I feel like this time, although, every we hear this all the time, every pregnancy is so different. And so my experience this time was just more so focused on like being super present, allowing myself to go through the healing so that I'm able to be present and to be super, um, just grateful and I don't know how else to say it, but present to each moment and to each blessing and to each milestone. So with my first pregnancy, I was doing like week by week videos, and this time I started, but I feel like because I was still in the first trimester, I was still kind of like on edge after our miscarriage in December. I was still going through the healing process and like processing it in my mind and in my feelings and emotions, and making that initial connection with this baby after that experience. And when I go back to, because I did start doing like week by week videos, I definitely felt like I wasn't connected to the journey, to the experience, because I was still in like mentality kind of at the beginning, the first couple of weeks, like kind of scared. Is this going to, end up like the last time? I was only 6 weeks along when almost 6 weeks when I miscarried in December. And so when I was kind of documenting the weeks, it was just kind of like, should I do this? Should I wait? So long story short, I wanted to, in this time, instead of doing week by week, I wanted to do trimester by trimester. So I wanted to talk about my personal experience in the first trimester of this now second pregnancy, and what I was feeling, the symptoms, because as I was going through my experience, especially after having a miscarriage, I didn't find a lot of things that I felt were helpful in explaining like the process, and even in like my first pregnancy, everything is so different because every pregnancy is different, but your personal experience also shapes how you deal with the next pregnancy, I feel. And so you already have some kind of knowledge as to what pregnancy feels like. And so being that this was my second, I everything was different, like symptoms were different. The first pregnancy, and I think I say this a lot, I share this a lot, that because it was my first pregnancy, and maybe kind of like I was blinded by the excitement of like, this is my first pregnancy, I don't know what to expect, everything is so new, that I feel like it also influenced what I experienced. So I wasn't feeling I didn't feel a lot of the symptoms that I feel now with this pregnancy. And also I think it has a lot to do with as we grow and evolve, and especially like the journey that I've been on, I've made a deeper connection with myself. And so my experience is I'm more connected to my own body, I'm more connected to my just being and knowing of what my body is going through and what I feel, right? Connected to those feelings. I'm more in tune with my own body, especially after experiencing a miscarriage and knowing what's really going on with my body. So I think that the second experience is different in that sense, that am I am in a different like mindset, and also emotional place, so it is a completely different experience. So I wanted to share some of the things that I experienced in this pregnancy in my first trimester, because like I said, a lot of the things were different. So first and foremost, I felt the moment that I knew that I was pregnant prior to taking a pregnancy test, because I had what is called implantation bleeding. So this was probably 2 weeks before I was supposed to start my period, or 2 weeks before I would take a pregnancy test, because my period was late. So 2 weeks before, I went to the restroom and I had like a single drop of blood when I wiped. And with my first pregnancy, and the with my first pregnancy, I had never spotted, during that time, I had never had any pre signs of implantation. And once again, I probably didn't at that time, I didn't know. When during my first pregnancy with my daughter, there's a lot of things that I didn't know, and it's just so crazy to me, because I'm thinking I'm in my 30s. I don't even know my body. I don't even know. I just know how you get pregnant, but I don't know really how you get pregnant, or the what happens. And so that was the first thing that I noticed, that was like, okay, this is weird. This has never happened. Um and I'll do a separate video about, I actually have done a live about my experience of my miscarriage. I have a video on the day after it happened, just me being super raw and how I felt. But also, I think I'll do a video of like of what is happening and why it happens. And I think I kind of talked about it a little bit in that video, but maybe I'll do a second one. So just that part of it before, because people ask a lot of questions as far as like, so I was pregnant in December, I miscarried, and then 3 months later I was able to get pregnant again. And it was just really focusing on healing, and I'll do another video on that. But yeah, so that was the first sign, that was the first thing that I realized, right? But instantly my body, with this, with the pregnancy that ended in a miscarriage, also I felt my body changing right away. I felt different. I felt the bloat instantly, which once again is not the same as my first pregnancy. I didn't feel anything, any difference. In this pregnancy, I definitely noticed right away my body started to change. And one of the next signs that I saw, that I was like, okay, something is happening prior to a positive pregnancy test, was I started to get like really bright veins on my chest, like all right here. It was like super green and bluey veins. And then the week that I took a test and I found out I was pregnant, I already started to have the blue-green veins on the sides, like the sides of my, like my rib area. And that's one of the things that I noticed right away, and it's because blood volume is starting to increase to support a pregnancy. So those are some things that were different from the first and the second pregnancy. And then what was something else that was different? My body started to change right away. So my boobs started to grow, and that's actually something that I noticed after the fact. In my first pregnancy, I noticed that my boobs were growing. I actually didn't notice. Other people were noticing, and they asked me, "Are you pregnant?" And I was like, "No, I'm not pregnant." But that was something that I noticed right away. This time it was like the bloating, and right away I felt like I gained like 10 pounds, but I didn't. And I definitely felt the changes in my body changing. And once it was maybe like a few days before, because my period is never late. And so I waited like 2 days, 3 days. The first test that I took, was a line, and a very faint line. And I showed my husband, and he did not he did not believe me. He's like, there's no way, like, are you sure? I mean, not that there's no way, but he was just like, are you sure? Like, maybe you should have waited a few more days. And I'm like, it's there. Like, a faint line counts. And so I was like, okay, I'm gonna wait another day. But I'm telling you, like, I feel pregnant. I know that I'm pregnant. This is happening. And I think too, for him, he was kind of like protecting his protecting himself as well, like his heart, and he didn't want to get his hopes up if this was really happening, etc., being that we both went through it through miscarriage experience. And so I said, okay, I'm going to take another test tomorrow. And so the next day came, and sure enough, and I think we were both just kind of in shock, and obviously excited, but also it becomes a little daunting, being that, okay, this was the excitement that we had last time. And um if I would have waited, I will say that if I would have waited an extra day, the previous for my miscarriage, if I would have waited an extra day to take a pregnancy test, I probably would have just assumed that it was just a missed period that was late, because that's really how close in time things happen. And that's a whole other story. But so yes, so we were really excited, and also just very nervous, because we were, had gone through the grieving process of miscarriage, and just kind of like, okay, what do we do now? What's going to be different? Like, is there anything that I can do? Which there isn't anything that you can do if you're taking care of yourself. It's just something that happens, and you just have to trust that this is the plan, that this is gonna work out. And so we were really excited, and just kind of taking it day by day, obviously not having told anybody yet. We waited to say anything, just because, not out of fear, but just out of like, we want to protect ourselves, and we want to feel like the time is right when we share the news. And so and I've openly shared about our experience prior, but I don't really know if my family, it's just like, it's so weird that it's something that you don't talk about. So I don't even know. I never directly told our parents that we had a miscarriage, but I'm assuming, because they watch what I share, and I'm very open about my experiences, that they know. But it's just like, it's still so crazy to me that we can't talk about it openly. But anyways, so we were really excited, and so I started to feel all of the symptoms. This time around, I did have a little bit of wooziness, like not full blown morning sickness, but between week 7 and like 6 7, yeah, week 6 and 7, or 7 and 8, I started to get really woozy, and sensitive to smells, sensitive to what other people were eating, like in the office. And if I would smell it, I would get grossed out, to where I didn't want to eat my food. I couldn't eat like hot food. So I was doing a lot, if you guys are watching my story back then, I was doing a lot of like fresh, like salads, just because, just whenever they would warm up food, it would like totally gross me out. So so yeah, I definitely felt that this time around. I didn't feel tired, but around week 7, actually around week 8, 8 and 9, I started to spot, and I was not bright red blood. It was brownish tone blood. And I kind of got freaked out, because I was like, oh, what's going on? This didn't happen in my first pregnancy. And upon reading into it, asking my doctor, everything was fine. It's just, as your uterus grows, as it's growing, it can, it's like, you have to think of it as a growing organ. So it starts to push against other things. And just the blood itself, that it was darker tone, that it wasn't bright red, it means that it's older blood. So it could have been older blood from the growth, movement. And so I kind of felt a little bit more at ease, because I was like, I tried to like Google it, and I had to really search and watch. I was actually watching YouTube videos of other women who had similar experiences, and also talking about how there isn't anything like formal online that doesn't scare you, right away. It's like, something's wrong, go get checked. But nothing was wrong. It's just, that's what happens when your uterus expands, and it could cause, just, it's like it's hitting. So it could be like a scratch, it could be like that kind of injury, not a severe injury, but it's old blood. And so I felt a little bit more at ease as we continued to progress through pregnancy. But I'm not gonna lie, kind of shook me a little bit because, like I said, I hadn't experienced that before. So I was just kind of like, I can't focus on every little thing that's different because then I'm gonna drive myself crazy. I really have to embrace it. So that was the only other symptom that was different. And then the wooziness, kind of beginnings of morning sickness, but not fully. And it wasn't like just one part of the day. There were some days where I just kind of felt a little bit woozy. Not, I say woozy because it's not full nauseousness throughout the whole day. And it was just like drinking my water, my CR7, which is the antioxidants and B vitamins, that actually really helped with the nauseous feeling. And it actually helped me to be able to want to eat, right? Because that can easily throw off your appetite. So those were the things that I experienced in my first trimester, and I definitely, this time around, I've shared it before, your first pregnancy, your core is a lot tighter, so it takes longer for you to show, and then any subsequent pregnancies you're going to show sooner. So I definitely started showing. I definitely felt super pregnant, but I was just really excited for the experience, and then being able to share the news with our family, and just the excitement of knowing that we are so blessed to be able to create life together, to give our daughter Farida a sibling, and just to continue to grow our family. It's something that we always wanted. And then just the experience was also different, being that I'm over 35. I'm 36. I'll be 37 in November. So it's extra precaution when it comes to pregnancy, in the way that medical treatment is given. It's always like these extra blood work, extra tests, because you're of older age. They want to make sure that everything is okay. And I'll talk a little bit more about that for the second trimester, because um, that kind of made me feel some type of way, about my experience, and also about, future pregnancies, right? So, but that is the recap of my first trimester. Overall, it wasn't too bad or too daunting. It's just really allowing myself to be present, and that's really what I am super focused on with this pregnancy.